PowerPC G4 is a designation used by Apple Computer and Eyetech to describe a fourth generation of 32-bit PowerPC microprocessors. Apple has applied this name to various processor models from Freescale, a former part of Motorola. Motorola and Freescale's proper name of this family of processors is PowerPC 74XX. Macintosh computers such as the PowerBook G4 and iBook G4 laptops and the PowerMac G4 and PowerMac G4 Cube desktops all took their name from the processor. PowerPC G4 processors were also used in the eMac, first-generation Xserves, first-generation Mac Minis, and the iMac G4 before the introduction of the PowerPC 970. Apple completely phased out the G4 series for desktop models after it selected the 64-bit IBM-produced PowerPC 970 processor as the basis for its PowerPC G5 series. The last desktop model that used the G4 was the Mac Mini, which now comes with an Intel processor. The last portable to use the G4 was the iBook G4 but was replaced by the Intel-based MacBook. The PowerBook G4 has been replaced by the Intel-based MacBook Pro. The PowerPC G4 processors are also popular in other computer systems, such as the Amiga 1 series of computers and the Pegasus from Genesee. Besides desktop computers, the PowerPC G4 is popular in embedded environments, like routers, telecom switches, imaging, media processing, avionics and military applications, where one can take advantage of the AltIVC and its SMP capabilities. PowerPC 7400. The PowerPC 7400 debuted in August 1999 and was the first processor to carry the G4 moniker. The chip operates at speeds ranging from 350 to 500 MHz and contains 10.5 million transistors, manufactured using Motorola's 0.20 I1/4M Hyper-MOS6 process. The die measures 83 m² and features copper interconnects. Motorola had promised Apple to deliver parts with speed up to 500 MHz, but yields proved too low initially. This forced Apple to take back the advertised 500 MHz models of PowerMac G4. The PowerMac series was downgraded abruptly from 400, 450 and 500 MHz processor speeds to 350, 400 and 450 MHz while problems with the chip were ironed out. The incident generated a rift in the Apple-Motorola relationship, and reportedly caused Apple to ask IBM for assistance to get the production yields up on the Motorola 7400 series line. The 500 MHz model was reintroduced on February 16, 2000. Design. Much of the 7400 design was done by Motorola in close cooperation with Apple and IBM. IBM, the third member of the AIM Alliance, designed the chip together with Motorola in its Somerset Design Center, but chose not to manufacture it, because it did not see the need back then for the vector processing unit. Ultimately, the G4 architecture design contained a 128-bit vector processing unit labeled AltIVC by Motorola, while Apple marketing referred to it as the Velocity Engine. The PowerPC 970 was the first IBM-manufactured CPU to implement VMX AltIVC, for which IBM reused the old 7400 design they still had from the design they did with Motorola in Somerset. The Xenon CPU in the XBOX 360 also features VMX, with added proprietary extensions made especially for Microsoft. PowerBook, introduced in 2007, is IBM's first big iron CPU to also implement VMX. With the AltIVC unit, the 7400 microprocessor can do 4-way single precision floating point math, or 16-way 8-bit, 8-way 16-bit or 4-way 32-bit integer math in a single cycle. Furthermore, the vector processing unit is superscalar, and can do 2 vector operations at the same time. Compared to Intel's x86 microprocessors at the time, this feature offered a substantial performance boost to applications designed to take advantage of the AltIVC unit. Some examples are Adobe Photoshop, which utilizes the AltIVC unit for faster rendering of effects and transitions, and Apple's iLife suite, which takes advantage of the unit for importing and converting files on the fly. Additionally, The 7400 has enhanced support for symmetric multiprocessing thanks to an improved cache coherency protocol and a 64-bit floating-point unit, derived in part from the 604 series. The 603 series had a 32-bit FPU, which took 2 clock cycles to accomplish 64-bit floating-point arithmetic. The PowerPC G4 family supports 2 bus technologies, the older 60X bus which it shares with the PowerPC 600 and PowerPC 7XX families, and the more advanced MPX bus. Devices that utilize the 60X bus can be made compatible with either 6XX or 7XX processors, enabling a wide variety of offerings and a clear and cheap upgrade path while keeping compatibility issues at a minimum. There are primarily 2 companies manufacturing system controllers for 7XX and 7XXX computers, Tundra with their Xi1XX controllers and Marvel with their Discovery controllers. PowerPC 7410. The PowerPC 7410 Nitro is a low-power version of the 7400, but it was manufactured at 180 nanometers instead of 200 nanometers. Like the 7400, it has 10.5 million transistors. It debuted in the PowerBook G4 on January 9, 2001. The chip added the ability to use all or half of its cache as high-speed, non-cached memory mapped to the processor's physical address space as desired. This feature was used by embedded systems vendors such as Mercury Computer Systems. PowerPC 7450. The PowerPC 7450 Voyager/4 was the only major redesign of the G4 processor. The 33 million transistor chip extended significantly the execution pipeline of 7400 to reach higher clock speeds, improved instruction throughput to compensate for higher instruction latency, replaced an external L2 cache with an integrated one, supported an external L3 cache, and featured many other architectural advancements. The ALT/IVC unit was improved with the 7450. Instead of executing one vector permute instruction and one vector ALU instruction per cycle like 7400/7410, the 7450 and its Motorola Freescale followers can execute 2 arbitrary vector instructions simultaneously. It was introduced with the 733 MHz PowerMac G4 on January 9, 2001. Motorola followed with an interim release, the 7451, codenamed Apollo 6. Just like the 7455. The enhancements to the 745X design gave it the nicknames G4e or G4 Plus, but these were never official designations. PowerPC 7445 and 7455. The PowerPC 7455 OE Apollo 6 was introduced in January 2002. It came with a wider, 256-bit on-chip cache path, and was fabricated in Motorola 0.18 micrometer Hyper-MOS process with copper interconnects and SOI. It was the first processor in an Apple computer to pass the 1 GHz mark. The 7445 is the same chip without the L3 cache interface. The 7455 is used in the Amiga 1Xe G4, and the dual 1 GHz PowerMac G4. PowerPC 7447 and 7457. The PowerPC 7447 Apollo 7 is slightly improved from the 7450/55. It has a 512 KB on-chip L2 cache and was manufactured in a 130 nanometers process with SOI, hence drawing less power. It has 58 million transistors. With the 7447A, which introduced an integrated thermal diode as well as DFS, Freescale was able to reach a slightly higher clock. The 7457 has an additional L3 cache interface, supporting up to 4 MB of L3 cache, up from 2 MB supported by the 7455 and 7450. However, its frequency scaling stagnated when Apple chose to use the 7447 instead of the 7457, despite that the 7457 was the L3 cache-enabled successor to the L3 cache-enabled 7455 that Apple used before. The only companies that offer the 7457 in the form of upgrades for the PowerMac G4, iMac G4, and PowerMac G4 Cube are Giga Designs, Sonnet Technology, Daystar Technology and PowerGix. The Pegasus computer platform from Genesee also uses 7447 in its Pegasus II G4. PowerPC 7448. The PowerPC 7448 Apollo 8 is an evolution of the PowerPC 7447A announced at the first Freescale Technology Forum in June 2005. Improvements were higher clock rates officially and easily up to 2.4 GHz through overclocking, a larger 1 MB L2 cache, a faster 200 MHz front-side bus, and lower power consumption. It was fabricated in a 90nm process with copper interconnects and SOI. PowerPC 7448 users were Daystar for their high-res aluminum PowerBook G4 upgrades, newer tech for their PowerMac G4 upgrades, PowerGix for their PowerMac G4 Cube upgrade, Cisco and NPE G2 network processor module for their 7200VX routers. E600. In 2004, Freescale renamed the G4 core to E600 and changed its focus from general CPUs to high-end embedded SoC devices, and introduced a new naming scheme, MPC86XX. The 7448 was to be the last pure G4 and it formed the base of the new E600 core with a 7-stage, 3-issue pipeline, and a powerful branch prediction unit which handles up to 16 instructions out of order. It has an enhanced alt-of unit capable of limited out-of-order execution and a 1 MB L2 cache. Device list. This list is a complete list of known G4-based designs. The pictures are illustrations and not to scale. References. Darfendorf, Keith. PowerPC G4 gains velocity. Microprocessor report pages 10 €15. Gwinnett, Linley. G4 is first PowerPC with Alt-IFC. Microprocessor report. Half-Hill, Tom. A PowerPC ain't dead yet. Microprocessor report pages 13 €15.